Live each and every day, love and live your way. Do your very best, learn and lead today. Be the best you can, it's your life. Take a stand, so live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life with Dr. Julia Royston. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Live Your Best Life. I'm Julia Royston, bringing you my special edition. Oh my gosh, and I've already said it twice. Men's only panel. I am super excited to have these gentlemen on with me this evening, and for you to join us as well. For I've come that you might have life and have that life to the full, overflowing, and abundantly. So that's what God came to give us. And we want to get all the information, resources, tools, people, places, and things that we need to help us live our best life. Now, ladies and gentlemen alike, single especially, get your pen and paper ready. Get your pen and paper handy to write down these wonderful nuggets that this men's only panel is going to bring us this evening. And I am super excited that they are joining me. I appreciate it. They're taking time out of their lives. And thank you for all of your sharing and caring. And I appreciate all you do. So we're going to jump right in. I want each gentleman to introduce themselves. So we're going to start in alphabetical order with Reverend Pastor Garry Brown. I want him to introduce himself, tell me where he's from, his wife, and what he does.
I'm Pastor Garry Brown. I am from the Pilgrim Baptist Church in Locust Grove, Virginia. I'm also a adult mental health case manager, and I have been married to the lovely Karen Brown for 15 years now, and so we have been partnering in ministry and all of her endeavors as an author and all of the other wonderful things that she does. And so we just continue to try to lift up the name of God in everything that we do.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Reverend Derrick Collins.
My name is Derrick Collins. My wife is Vanessa Collins. I am a gaming operations manager in the entertainment industry. And all the same, I've been a active member of I should mention, I live in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. I'm sure all of you have that on your radar and know exactly where that is. So, assuming that's the case, it's near Louisville, Kentucky. For those of you who are local, probably already knew that. But I spend a lot of my time, of course, involved in the industry. I've got a couple of books. Well, I've got one that's complete. I got a couple I'm working on, and that I try not to mention that too much because you all get too excited. And that's about it. That's there.
So, Mr. William Rivers, introduce yourself. Tell us your wife and how long you've been married and all that good stuff.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Rivers. My wife is Asia Rivers. I'm the co-founder of Talk Child Care to Me, LLC, which is a child care facility that me and my wife own and operate. We operate 2 facilities within Louisville, Kentucky. I'm also the owner of Boss Man University, which is a t-shirt brand that I own, that I supply t-shirts to different organizations and businesses within the city and also outside the city. I have a business background. Prior to joining my wife full-time in business, I have over 20 years in retail management, and we've been married for 8 years. That's it.
Yes. Oh no, that's a lot, sir. That's a whole Whole lot. Oh, that's it for right now. He's just taking a little brief pause.
Right.
So my boo is in the house. Whoop whoop. You know, I had to give him a special shout out. Sorry. Mr. Brian K. Royston.
Hello, my name is Brian K. Royston, and I have been married for 14 years, and I used to work in the IT industry. I um, worked there for 31 years and have retired. I've been retired now for approximately 7 months, and I'm enjoying it.
And who is your wife?
And my wife is Julia Ann K. Royston,
And how old are
operator of PK Royston Publishing,
Yes.
LCC.
LCC. LLC.
LLC.
Ooh, it's gonna be fun. I can just tell already. Okay, so let me just give you a little background as to even why I'm doing this. So, I own BK Royston Publishing, and I work with men and women, but primarily the women business bosses that I meet and people in their own industry that are single. They usually say, "Oh my goodness, one day I hope to travel with my husband as soon as I find one." And then I have asked friends of mine, "So how's your husband?" "What husband, girl? We're not together anymore. We not." And I'm just like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply that, or we're separated, or that didn't work, or he had this kind of problem or that kind of problem." So I'm like, I know some people who've been married. Now, let me just quantify this. No relationship is perfect, because we're human beings. None of us are perfect. So I'm not bringing you this men's panel to say, "Oh, they're perfect," and because the women are not perfect and the men are not perfect. We may be perfect together, but just right off the top, this is my statement, and y'all can agree with me or not. It's a working relationship. There is a active working that must happen every single solitary day. And so I wanted to have this men's panel because I'm like, I know some people who have been in a relationship longer than a year, and that can really help and inspire and encourage and empower people when they're in relationships, that both parties can be gifted and still be in a relationship. Does anybody want to first off jump off and just speak to that of having two gifted people in a relationship? Who's gonna jump first?
I will. So when Karen and I met, I was just starting off in the ministry. I've been a minister. Well, actually, we met right before I went into the ministry, and then when we really got together, I had just become a minister. I'd only been ministering for a couple of years, and so a lot of what we were doing was centered around growing me in the ministry, and she was, a very big support in that. And so as we progressed in marriage, though, more and more of her talents and things started to come to the forefront where, we had to figure out, okay, how do we balance this out and make sure that we're both getting the support that we need? And so I think we came to an understanding of if it's her thing and that's what we're doing, then I'm there to support her. And then if it's my thing and then I'm there, she's there to support me. But I think also understanding that there were times where she'd had to be over here doing this thing and I had to be over here doing that thing. And it wasn't a thing of we don't care about the other person's event or whatever they're going through. It's understanding that we both have these roles to play and we both have these things to do. So we just, and it's nothing personal that I can't be with you today because I got to be over here.
Right.
And I think understanding that, I think that's what happens to a lot of people is thinking if they're not there, then, oh, it must be because they just don't care or they don't want to be there.
Right.
And understanding that that's not really the case all the time. We can support each other without necessarily standing right next to each other.
Exactly. Okay, so let me just put a pause right here and ask William, Derrick, and Brian So where was your wife already in business when you met her, William?
Yeah.
With us, now we Asia wasn't already in business when we met. Our business didn't form until after we got together and got married. So how we met, we met through work. We worked at the same retail establishment, and what drew me to her was just her drive and her motivation and her her nonstop mentality. She was never content with just being where she was and stuff like that. So once we got together, our union just made us even stronger. So when we finally decided to go into business, uh, it wasn't like it was more of her, running the show at first, and then, once the business grew, we had to have a conversation about, me coming in and helping the progress along. So after they had that conversation, we just put in the steps and start putting in motion for me to, come out and then join and then, unite. And it's been nothing but, a blessing ever
All
since.
right, it's been big ever since. It's been big. Y'all have a conversation. Me and Brian have that meeting in the middle of the bed. So that's what we call it. The meeting in the middle of the meeting in the middle of the bed.
Right.
Derrick.
Well, and I didn't mention, I know you all did. I missed that note, but Vanessa and I have been married it'll be 30 years in September. And when we initially, two things. When we first met, she was very active in ministry, and a lot of the things that she does is very ministry related. So you could say she was in business, but she's branched out and created a bunch of different opportunities since then. She has always been pretty active there, and quite honestly, she was probably the motivation. Let's just face it, she was the motivation a lot of what I did, because I'm gonna be honest, I was a lot of that typical male, just sit back, relax, and let's not no, that's not really me type of mentality. But I listened to a lot of the things that you all have already said, and Brother Garry said, and you actually said even in the opening that talked about how people work together. And it's not, we've all heard that saying about a 50-50 relationship, a 50-50 love, I think is a song, all that kind of thing. But the truth is that's not really accurate. And that's I think where people struggle. A good relationship, and that includes business and whatever you're doing, is really 100-100. Because if I'm trying to get my 50, I'm gonna stop at some point. It's about 100. I'm gonna give everything I have, and Vanessa's gonna give everything she has, and together, you know what? You come out ahead. And if you settle for 100% in a relationship based on that 50-50 theory, somebody's gonna end up a little unsatisfied and unhappy eventually. So, I think we both complement each other in a lot of ways. We're very different. People who don't know us might be surprised, but we're very different in a lot of ways in how she's very analytical. I'm a people person. So the two of us together, while we get, I see her as a people person, but I don't know if anybody else would ever see her as that. But she talks to me and jokes with me in ways that she probably doesn't talk to many other people. She saw me the other day on the computer helping other people with information technology, and I think she almost fell out of her chair. We see things about people. No, but the truth is, and if I'm being honest, that's just things after 30 years of marriage, or 8 years of marriage, or 15 years of marriage, or 14, whatever it is. Those are things you pick up, and quite honestly, we learn more from each other. When we stop learning, that's probably when we stop growing.
Yeah. I love the 100%, because it's usually, it's 50-50. We've heard that for years, but that 100% is, if you're giving 100%, oh wow, we put that 100 with that 100, we got 200%. It is amazing. So, Brian Royston, when you met me, what was I doing?
You were working in a library
Okay.
as your second job. Your first job was as a teacher. at a high school.
Right. And what was you doing?
Being a bachelor at 42.
Working how many jobs?
And I had two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was a night shift job, and my second job was a day shift job working for another young lady, and as an IT person. And we happened to meet when we were at Simmons Bible College. We were setting up the computer lab for the school, and she happened to be on vacation. Yeah, this is a true story.
Oh Lord, he's getting ready to tell something.
I don't know the story. Well, we were there, identifying what was necessary, what was needed, what wasn't needed, and she happened to be on vacation. So we had to call her. So we had to find her number and call her. And the first thing she came out of her mouth was she wanted Dell computers. We said, well, this is an HP group over here. You're not getting a Dell, you're getting an HP. So we already had, that conversation to begin with. Okay, so that probably struck a nerve with her already, So then, after that, I happened to see her at, we were having choir rehearsal at my church, and she happened to come up the aisle, and I just thought she was just so uppity.
I was walking my head in there.
I said, who is she? She's walking all confident and everything. She was a soloist. She wasn't part of the choir at the time. She was just a soloist coming in to sing with us. And, the next thing you know it, my mother and the
he's telling the whole story. Okay, you tell too much. Tell too much.
So we got together. Okay, we finally got together, and we ended up getting married. So, I'm the one that's hard to get along with. I'm gonna tell you that much, because I only dated two people in my entire life up until 42 years old. So I didn't know what it was like to live with somebody because I never lived with anybody. So I had to get through all of that. And of course she was more adjusted to it than I was, and I finally got together. And in the middle of that, I worked night shift, she worked day shift, so I would sleep during the day, while she worked, and then I'd be gone at night. So we had to work something out so that we both could keep everything cohesive, because it was a lot at the time, because she was always constantly busy. She still is busy. She works like 12 hours a day.
Know what you mean?
We learned a few things, and one of those few things is we will have a date night. And it's usually on a Saturday.
He jumped the gun, so I'll go ahead and lead into that.
But anyway,
how do we keep the balance in the life? Because, I'm kind of a workaholic. I confess it. Hi, I'm Julia Royston. I have control issues, and I'm a workaholic. Okay, all right. Okay. So date night is number one. So any of you other gentlemen have date night?
Yeah, we try to have date night as well.
Okay, once a week or whenever we can, or how does that work?
Whenever we can at this moment, yeah. But
it's not.
We try to whenever we get that opportunity to just have it at our time and stuff like that.
How many babies you have?
We have three.
Three. Okay, you have three babies. Okay.
Three.
And then Mr. Collins.
Well, we don't. Well, based on the way you all define it, I guess we have a date night as well. So it's whenever we can. We binge watch together.
Oh, okay.
We
definitely
watch our television programs, and I beat her in various board games, things like that. We just look. We hang out. I mean, she's she's my best. I don't have a whole lot of other friends. She's my best friend. So we hang out, we play a few games, watch television, stuff like that. We both work a lot. So I joke about her, but I'm sure she would say the same about me. We both work a lot. And had we worked a lot 25 years ago as much, it might have been a little different after 30 years. It works out better, and we know, and we have fun. We'll cook together. We do all kinds of little things like that. And I think that to be honest, communication is probably our biggest strength. We just communicate. And, make weird recipes if you let me in the kitchen, but stuff like that.
Well, I'll let Reverend Brown say date night, yes, no?
Yeah, whenever we can, but I think we're the same. We do stuff around the house together. We watch TV together and that kind of thing. I sit through shows I don't like just so I can spend time with her and things like that. And
that's where I draw the line.
Same here.
Yeah, those shows with no action and nothing like that in it, just but
oh yeah, we gotta watch Hallmark Channel. I make him suffer through it.
Yeah,
watch some Hallmark Channel and sappy movies.
Yes. Oh, it's the compromise though.
Big time. Now, to me, date night is anytime we're together, and sometimes it's a bowl of popcorn sitting up in the bed. Sometimes it's on the couch. Sometimes it's but date night doesn't have to look the same for everybody. But as long as you're spending that time together, and I know Derrick mentioned communication, and that's really, really an issue. So I'm not going to ask you specifically how you all specifically do conflict, but and it may, it'll be a point of reference. But I really do, before I open it up for questions, because I hope people are joining and will ask questions of this panel of how do you or should you handle conflict?
Well, yelling never solves anything.
No.
We like to do it. Yelling doesn't solve anything. So you have to come together and talk. You have to just talk out because they're not listening when you're yelling.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have our own meeting in the middle of the bed, where you say your side, I say my side, and and it's literally, when there is an issue or something that we need to discuss or advice I need, or I don't understand something or whatever. It literally is a meeting in the middle of the bed.
Because what you're dealing with there is, okay, then you have to tell them what I'm hearing you say is this. Mm-hmm. And then they're saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. Well, that's what I heard. And then they have to explain what they were trying to mean. Then you get an understanding. But you have to have the communication there to get that understanding. And if you don't have the communication, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And Brian, you said, and you made a good point. I mean, yelling doesn't say, 30 years of marriage, and I would safely say by other people's definition, we've never had an argument. We might have been on opposite ends and disagreed on something. And quite honestly, time usually fixes that more times than not. Because it's very, depending on what it is, it's usually very fact-based. So one of us will say, you know what, okay, we'll try. It's kind of that 100-100 thing. I want the best for her. She wants the best for me. So eventually we're just going to sit down and say, okay, let's try this first. And if this doesn't work, we'll go a different way. And I think we do that pretty well now. I mean, again, it's a lot of practice. But to your point, there's a lot of society that feels like arguing is part of a marriage, in the sense of yelling, going out the house, clothes on the craziness. And it's not, because people fall into those crazy paths and tricks, and it's not necessary.
Right.
Nobody's perfect, and you said that earlier. Nobody.
Yeah, no. I'm the first one. Will, you have a comment? Pastor Garry, you got a comment?
Yeah, I think for us, I agree. We've never had an actual argument in the whole time we've been together. We do have times where we disagree, of course, but we have learned enough to respect one another that we've learned to step away in those moments and get ourselves together so that we can actually have a talk about whatever it is that we're disagreeing about. And sometimes, even if sometimes that talk hasn't even been in person, sometimes that talk has been a text message or a note or whatever, just so we get our thoughts and our opinions across without the emotional piece of it, where you end up fussing and fighting and yelling at each other. And because again, Brian's right, that does not solve anything. And I think part of it for me is setting small goals in my mind, and my everyday goal in my mind is, at the end of the day, I still want to be married to Garry. And so everything that I do during that day has to be working toward that goal, which means I got to think about what I say. I got to think about, how I react to things, because it's all part of getting to that goal of still being married to my wife at the end of the day.
Right. William, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, just to piggyback off it, everybody's pretty much said a point, stressed the point. I'm going to agree with the communication has to be there. Without communication, it just opens up the floodgates for anything to, arguments and stuff like that to go on. So if you don't have a good communication with your wife, with your spouse and stuff like that, then I mean, I feel like it's just I don't know. It's not in the good. It just puts you in the best position. So it's good to have that communication, and like my brother said, just not yelling and doing anything like that, because all that yelling stuff is just useless energy at the end of the day.
It really is. And of course, William and Reverend Garry and Brian, I know Derrick and Vanessa do things together too as well. They've done conferences and stuff like that. So they've been to working together. So all of us have worked together with our spouse in one way, shape, or form, assisting the other, helping the other, working together with the other, whatever that looks like. And to me, having somebody you work with, especially that you're married to, that, as they say, that you sleep with, that you work with and all that, is really that camaraderie, is just number one. That communication, and then that camaraderie has to be number two. And being able to be open and honest. Your best friend. I'm with Derrick. Brian's my best friend. I mean, I have Vanessa's my good friend as too as well. But even closer than that, Brian is my best friend. Like I open up with fears and goals and dreams and I don't know, and
But there's a trust factor also. You got to be able to trust that person with whatever you're dealing with also. So if the trust isn't there, the communication is not going to be there to begin with. And they got to be able to trust you.
Yep.
That's right. It's key. Well, Vanessa already put in the comments, communication. So she agrees with her husband about communication. Okay. So let's, I don't have any questions in the group. Richard Pryor says, respect toward each other is key as well. Thank you for that comment. And then of course all the hearts and the loves from the wives, they in there rooting for they boo. So we appreciate that. Okay, so I want to, because I know people will be watching on the replay and all of that, but I really want you all to let's kind of get a list of things that to really talk to. Let's talk to the single people. It's one thing, William and Asia were not necessarily in business when they first got together, but they were working, moving. And Garry and Karen were at the beginning stages of ministry and all that. And I know Vanessa was active and, all of what she's doing, and Derrick and all of that, building even 30 years. And of course, Brian and I, when I took him out, when he took me out on the third date, maybe the third month we were together, I was like, okay, I took him out of town with me on an event. I was singing, I was selling CDs, I'm like, this is my world. Can you handle it? And so that's like one of the things that was major for me, because we were older. He's 41, I'm 42, we not, 20 something. Oh, he's cute. He's got a nice car. It wasn't that kind of.
But the problem was she left me in charge of the money. Trust me, we've been married. We haven't been married. We only been dating for, I think it was 2 months.
3 months, 2 months.
And she got me in charge of the money. You got a
I didn't
dude.
find out what he would do. It was a
That
test.
was a trust test, Brian.
It was a test.
It was a test. It was a
You know,
test.
I didn't know that. Okay. You know, I'm gullible. I'm a very gullible person. I believe what you say. You know, so if you tell me this, then that's what I believe. So,
Yeah. Well, but it was kind of a test. You had to believe that. Come on now, dude.
No, but I never had to experience people testing you on certain things. So, you know, I was new to a whole lot of that stuff because, you know, I got my heart broken at 21. So that from that point on, I just shut everything off.
Yeah. Well, I had been married before, so I was divorced. So when you're in that kind of situation, you testing the dude on everything. Like everything, you testing him out. He don't even know it, and you testing him out. But I want us to kind of switch gears just a little bit because I want you to really give me like 1 or 2 things. We talked about communication. We talked about respect. We talked about our wives being our best friends. So what should these ladies and gentlemen, because I meet single gentlemen too, they can't find a woman and don't know whatever. But single people, what would you tell them after 30 years, 14 years, 8 years, 10 years? What is one thing? Brian's got his finger in the air, so go ahead and start.
Number one thing is do not settle. You don't settle for anyone. If you're going after a particular thing, you just make sure that it's what you want because you're going to get what you want. So don't settle. And I didn't settle. And I got everything that I wanted. She was all in one package right there. And at the time, I didn't even know it.
Oh, thank you.
Do not settle. Do not. And that's what I tell everybody. Do not settle. Well, he's got this, but if he's got this stuff in the background, you need to investigate everything that's going on with him before you decide if he's best for you. If he can't handle what you're doing, then you don't need to be with him. Same with her. If she can't boost you up, add value, as one of my pastors said, if they can't add value, then they're not worth it. That's my opinion.
All right. Ooh, thank you, Reverend Royston. Number 2, come on through. Yes, sir. Anybody else? Anybody else want to add?
Well, I think I would recommend that, you know, everybody makes kind of goals or sets their goals and has things that they want to do. When you unite, you put 2 together for 1. So you have to plan and make goals and set expectations. That's the word. That's what I meant to say. You have to set joint expectations. You both have to get together and set what you see, because I need to know what Vanessa sees. Vanessa needs to know what I see in the future. You know, what do we see, and are we on the same page, and how do we get together? Because when you do that, actually, it's much more fun when you're working with somebody else. It's kind of a philosophy when you're working with somebody else to get to a common goal.
Mm-hmm. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes, it does.
William, you next?
Ms. Guy, he just hit it off the bat right there. It's all about being a team player, and also just having somebody, just being with somebody who has the same mindset and the same goal set as you, and who's striving for that. Because as we work together, Asia and I, it just motivates both of us to just go and just do more. So when you got that type of person on your side with you, I mean, sky's the limit.
You're exactly right. I have seen a post Asia has had, and Mr. Williams is painting the walls. I've been in the daycare. He's been there watching over the kids and the operations, and of course that video was hot. I love that. That was hot. He's a rapper, and she was, hey, like, go on, get in, girl.
Nah, ain't no rapper. That was just
that was fire. Just keep that video. I loved it. So that's the reason why I was like, oh no, he's got to be on my men's panel. Because I just love it when two people work together. She supports you in what you do. You support her in what she does. I just think it's a beautiful thing. It was wonderful.
The other part of that was, okay, Julia came from a business background. I came from, you work hard, play hard, and then you retire and you do nothing. She comes from the business background. Her mind is set business. So she had to move me up to where she was at. And it wasn't that hard. I did a little kicking and screaming. I admit it. But, we worked together, and she had to trust me and I had to trust her because, it is a trust factor when it comes to your baby, your business that's yours, and then you're supposed to share it with your mate, your life mate. And if they feel that you're trying to take it away from them, they're gonna grab hold of it even stronger, and you might even push them away because of that. So you need to work together, and that's the hard part that I had to try and get to her, because she at one point she thought I was trying to take her business for whatever reason. I don't know why.
You're not supposed to tell everything, guys.
Well, I mean, it's my opinion.
It was. Now you
Am I wrong? Because I'm not a perfectionist per se, but I do say what I'm right when I'm right.
Oh Lord, he loves to be right. Oh Jesus, Lord, he loves to be right.
That's my downfall, because I will run into the ground and bad. I'm bad at that, but we work together, and I have calmed way down since I've been retired. But
I'm so proud of her. Okay, wait a minute, hold on. I need to hear from Pastor Garry. What would you say?
So I think, and this is one of the things that I always tell couples when they're about to get married, is finding the balance in your relationship, making sure things balance. There's a balance, and understanding in this particular topic, understanding that remembering what the other did to support you. Mm-hmm. And so when it's time for the spouse to need that support, you can go ahead and jump in. I think back to all the times where Karen drove all over the place with me, where I was preaching somewhere up in the woods and in the mountains and everywhere else, and all the events she went to just because I was doing something there. And so now it's her turn to need that support. Then that means I get up and I go wherever she's going, and I help however she needs me to help, because that's the balance. And it doesn't matter, because here's the thing: if it's successful, we both win.
Yes.
And so, and I think that's where a lot of we can get tripped up when we start thinking about, well, it's not about me, so I ain't really worried about that.
Right.
That's your thing over there, but it's never your thing or my thing. It's our thing.
It's
right.
I always tell people, you gotta change those pronouns from me to we, and it's us, and not just about me anymore.
That was the hardest part that I was dealing with. It was always about me.
Yeah. A marriage
42 years.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you get married, and then, okay, but this is mine. No.
Well, okay, so hold on right there. I moved into his condo. So, and of course he had two brothers. So he's never, besides his mom, he's never lived with a female in the house besides his mom, who had her own, with his dad. So therefore, that whole, I need places for my purses to go. Need places for my clothes to go. That one closet's good enough for me. Oh no, not for girls. And all the shoes and all the, you can well off imagine, and people tried to encourage me. Don't y'all want a house together? I'm like, no, I'm not moving. I like the amount of his mortgage. I'm not moving. No, I'm gonna move right to him. But that still was that whole balancing act that definitely had to happen. Okay, let me look at the comments. Learn to love yourself before looking for your mate. Richard Pryor says, exactly. Learn to love yourself. But especially if you've been single a long time, such as Brian was, you got to do the we, the us, the our, not just mine and me and my stuff and just what that definitely looks like. Now, I know integrating children into the relationship and all that is a whole nother conversation, but having that team, now in my house and my parents, you go to your dad and ask him, he said, what'd your mother say? And then you go to your mother and you say, what did your daddy say? And so they was in that thing on lock. I mean, no, neither one. Well, we'll have to talk about that. We'll let you know, because they had that really on lock. So I think even in this, making sure that that you have that teamwork makes the dream work, and making that happen, and making sure that we're able to connect together and move together. Okay. Any other comments before I move on? I want to see if there's any questions in the group. Questions, comments. Brian, you was on a roll with that, throwing me under the bus, but that's okay. That's okay.
Be careful. I think he's still at the wheel.
I know. I think he's gonna back up. What you think, Derrick? He putting it in reverse, double O. He's gonna back up and roll over me.
I wasn't trying to throw you under the bus.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So Liz Cannon asked in the comments, how do you get past competition? How do you get past competition?
You don't. You don't.
It's healthy.
I'm just being honest, right?
Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, Derrick.
No, I agree with them 100%. It is healthy as long as you understand that if you do those other things, if you communicate, talk about all that, then you know what you're competing against. You know what you're doing, and you know what you're saying. You know, humans are humans. People are people, and we're going to be competitive. You don't want anybody who doesn't want to do what they're doing at the best. And the best means you. Sometimes it depends on what you're doing. And, those of us, if you've ever been, athletic at any stage in your life, then you know that there's different versions of competitiveness, right? There's competitiveness that can be very destructive. There's just levels. I think there's nothing wrong with competitiveness, and I think it's actually very good. It can be, I think it keeps you there's a bit of it that keeps you humble. I'm just saying, and that's not a bad thing either. Obviously, humility is a much needed and probably sorely missed in a lot of today's society virtue. But I think, if you're competitive at home, and if you're listen, when you talk about competition, or when you talk about being competitive, sometimes you talk about just and let's face it, I'm not, you couples, y'all know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's competitive when you just point out something somebody else did wrong. You did it right.
Yeah.
Right? And we do it all the time. I do it all the time. Vanessa will probably say she does it all the time. You do it and that's part of being competitive. You got to keep people humble, but it's a nice way to do that. And it also helps you to get your points across without being rude and mean. Sometimes you're just not, you want to make sure you get the point across.
That helps. It's only helping you and your spouse to be able to move higher also. I don't think anyone's meant to tear down anybody. It's meant to keep moving upward, because when she benefits, you benefit. When you benefit, she benefits. It's an even, but 50-50, like Derrick said.
It must be that testosterone thing y'all got
going. Oh yeah, he doesn't like competition thing.
But you're right. I mean, so I'm not gonna say anything yet. So William or
this is a men's only panel.
I know it's a men's only. Let the testosterone just fly, just go,
I think in our relationships though we should push each other. And hopefully we're pushing each other to do better, to grow, to be stronger, because in order for us to succeed, we have to grow. And the only way we grow is if we are pushed. You think about you seeds and things that you plant. The only way they grow into what you want them to be is that seed has to break, and so that seed has to be pushed into something else, and so we got to push each other. We do have to push each other, I think, but we just have to make sure that we're doing it in a positive way, so that the response is a positive response.
There's a difference between pushing and antagonizing.
Yes. There's a line there. There is a line there.
William, okay, I'm not gonna say that. William, I want you to have a comment.
Well, I can what I just want to say is, everybody's hit the nail on the point, but it's without inspiration, there's no motivation. So if y'all don't inspire one another, you won't motivate one another to do anything. So, yeah, you got to have an inspiration, and like I said, it's healthy. It's also it's fun. I mean, so yeah, just have fun with it, and like I said, live your best life. Really.
Yeah, come on. Hey, you reminding the people. My best life. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know it. And believe you me, when it works out, I mean, at the end of the day, Brian's all about, I want to be right. But at the end of the day, if it succeeds, he was right. I have no problem humbling myself to say, you was right, honey. You was right. I can do this.
Yeah, sometimes she goes a little overboard.
Well, look at it like this. You could have somebody who wants to be right and works hard to do it, or you could have somebody who doesn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody who doesn't care isn't going to help you.
No, you can't move further with that don't care thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I have to bring this out. We have different interests. Okay, so Jeanette says we have different interests, so we usually work in our own lane. That's fine too, but coming to celebrate each other, hopefully, and I know that happens too as well. Okay, so I have to bring this out. So Richard Pryor says there can only be one head, that I'm the head of the house. I know, and there was silence in the room. Did you?
I was trying to see where you were going to start.
Right. And I probably should have had that for the women's panel later. And I'm not trying to get nobody in no trouble, but my father used to say, of course, he was very strong male, but he was like, anything with more than one head is a freak. But
you want me to jump in?
You started off there. Go ahead, jump in. I'm the head.
No, Brian was about to talk. I was just helping you out.
Huh?
I said, it looked like Brian was about to talk. Man.
He was. So you started.
No, listen, I do think that, it's all in how you define head of the household. And if you're a head, and look, I do believe I am the head of my household. I also believe that I'm only a successful head if I use those and that which I have with me and take even that, trust it. My opinion, it doesn't mean everything I say is right. Doesn't mean everything I say we do. Doesn't mean everything I don't command, I request. And part of being a head is to make sure everybody else is all right. Really, my biggest responsibility is to take care of my family, not to boss it around. So yeah, absolutely. I do. I feel like I'm the head of my household. I also know that I would not be half the head of my household I am if it wasn't for Vanessa. So that counts for I'm trying to keep myself out of trouble. I'm
traditional as far as that's concerned. So y'all don't got to, as they say, soft walk around me, because I'm very traditional as far as that's concerned. But I totally agree with you, Derrick. You've got a smart head of the household, doesn't understand what's in the house. Hello.
Right. That's right.
All right. Any other?
I think where we can elevate ourselves as that head of the household is understanding that we don't have expertise in everything that the household needs, and learning to give way when there's a situation that you don't have that expertise in. There are a lot of things that Karen is very well versed in, more so than me, and so I've learned to kind of that's her lane right there. Let her take lead on that, because it doesn't do us any good for me to stumble around in it and we fall down when she could have just taken it and it's taken care of, and we don't have, and we both can move on. And so I think, understanding that the head of the household doesn't mean you're just a dictator, where you just get to tell everybody what to do. But it means that you're looking for the growth of the entire household and not just your own.
That's right.
William, you agree? You got another comment?
I totally agree. I believe everyone who stated something is pretty much said something meaningful. I believe, we as men, we are looked at as leaders. So to lead our household, so in that respect, like Brother Cott said, it's all about utilizing your household to the fullest. So my wife plays a big part in our household. So I won't never say that, I'm the total head of the household. I say, I'm looked at as far as leadership, but it's a compromise at the end of the day. The compromise. So
Exactly. Brian?
Yeah, compromise. Yeah.
Well, I have no problem saying Brian Royston is the head of our house, but Brian Royston is smart enough to utilize the gifts that are in the house, and there are a lot of things we need the husband to step up the plate and do, and take charge and decide, here's our side, here's our side, what do you think, and here's my opinion, here's your opinion, what do you think, and we make the decision together. And of course, when we realize, especially as women, I'll take my side as the woman's role. When we understand that the husband, no matter what his gifts and talents are, if he loves us and wants what's best for the entire house, we don't have to worry. It still is a trust factor, but if he loves us and really wants what's best for us, even if we don't necessarily agree with the methodology and the direction, if we trust that love and confidence that we have in God and him, then we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And we may make mistakes and we'll stand there just like it was wonderful. And then we'll do the next thing. But I think Pastor Garry said it best when he was talking about who worries about, I don't know, maybe I was thinking you were going there, who cares who gets the credit, and who cares about who we shouldn't be really concerned about. Oh, I that was my idea and I got the credit for it. Who cares? We came out wonderful. And that's really that's where the competition, I think, goes awry, when I always have to be, and the boss and the tail. I definitely don't. Let me see if I have any other questions or comments, because Trinette says, my husband is the head, but I'm the neck. All right, go ahead for the neck. Amen for the neck. Amen for the neck. Amen. Because the head don't do food without a neck. It definitely needs. And of course, the scripture does tell us about the wife being the helpmeet. And, it's very frustrating when, I'll just say on my end, to trying to be helpful and the person doesn't want your help, or they feel like they don't need your help. That's where it can get frustrating as well. And when decisions are not made when they could be, a better decision could be made if maybe the other's advice could be considered. So I think that's wonderful. So let me see if I have any more questions, because I'm going to shut it down. I'm not going to take up the rest of your night. Now, any other comments from the group? Any other comments from the group?
I was gonna say, as I was sitting here, my wife just came up the stairs. I got a little scared, but I guess I'm all right.
I think you're doing good. I think you're doing good, sir.
I guess I'm all right.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good, sir. So before we close it out, I just want to tell you all, thank you again for being our guest. I've even had a text message saying, tuning in, listening in. They probably may be driving or moving or in and about the streets, hopefully trying to get home, as we all need to be. And heard how wonderful it is, and then really, really enjoyed it. And I have really been looking forward to this, and a lot of other people have too, to really get the male's perspective and the men's perspective. And I really appreciate these very extremely gifted men, and being gifted in what they do in their own right, but being able to be married to an actually equally gifted woman, and to be able to hold up their end. And I'm back with Brian in that, don't settle whatever you do in whatever relationship it is. If it feels wrong, if it seems wrong, then just pull up. I mean, you know, I know they've got the 80-20 rule out there, and oh well, that 20%, but he won't work that 20%. That 20% is really, he's an alcoholic, he's a drug dealer, he's a, you know, oh, okay, that 20% is not what we're talking about. That 20% that with love and honor and respect can be tweaked, and more things can be expanded, because some people just need exposure to something new, to exposure to a new way of living, and a new being adventuresome, and going out to, when we get back to it, a new restaurant, a new food, or, you know, just a new place that we've never been. If you've got somebody who's open for that, okay, cool. They, you know, take them out of their comfort zone as far as that's concerned. But actually trying to go into a relationship to actually change somebody, no, that's walk away.
Don't try and change somebody.
Yeah.
No.
Exposure, yes. Change somebody, no. Okay, one more look in the comments. And all right. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
all that, just all this wisdom, these years of wisdom. And hopefully we'll be back together again at another time, and maybe we'll just have the wives on too as well. And we'll do a couples thing maybe later on down the road. So thank you so much for being a part of Live Your Best Life today, tomorrow, and always. Live your best life. Live each and every day, love and live your way. Do your very best, learn and lead today. Be the best you can, it's your life, take a stand, so live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life with Dr. Julia Royston.